You know, I wasn't really expecting this. When I uploaded that video as a meme, I was expecting 1,000 views max. Yeah, that didn't happen. So here I am, you enablers setting me down this dark and twisted path of Boss Baby conspiracy theories. I hadn't expected this. I didn't plan to call up my parents and have to tell them that my popularity spiked because of Alec Baldwin doing a baby impression for an hour and 40 minutes. But like, seriously, thank you all so much. This is the second installment of my Boss Baby conspiracy theory videos. The first one is linked in the description if you'd like to revisit it. That video was me plunging myself into the icy depths of the deep end of video essays, and surprisingly enough, it went better than expected. Maybe this time I'll actually learn how to swim before I do a 30-minute video about swimming. Unlikely, given my track record so far. I digress though. This video is about Boss Baby 2, not Boss Baby 1. So, Boss Baby 2, is it good? In my opinion, no. I will stand by the fact that you are allowed to watch whatever you so please. If you like Boss Baby, I will not stop you, but I also won't sit here and pretend to enjoy it. I don't. Even if I do make fun of this movie, it's okay to enjoy it. I got some comments last video saying I was too harsh, and of course I'm going to be harsh for a movie I don't like. That doesn't mean I'm telling you your opinions are shit if you like it, I just don't care if you like it or not. This video is welcome to both haters and fans alike, who all want to see some random college girl throw pasta at a wall until some of it sticks in the imitation of a sentence. So why am I doing this if I don't even like the movie? Well, I mean, you know. But seriously, I don't mind talking about things I don't enjoy as long as I can think of something to talk about regarding it. I myself find enjoyment from movies by talking about them, during them. I don't shut up. I think the length of this video proves that. Even if Boss Baby 2 wasn't enjoyable for me from a movie standpoint, I did have a lot of fun ragging on it with me and my friends. Maybe the Boss Babies were the friends we made along the way. What even is the plot of Boss Baby 2, you may be asking? Let me fill you in, because boy howdy, is it a plot indeed. Is it a good plot? It's a plot. That's enough, right? Boss Baby 2 follows up on the original where the two main characters, Ted and Tim, are now adults. Ted is a corporate boss who makes enough money to warrant inappropriately lavish gifts and a private helicopter. Tim, the main character, became a stay-at-home father married to a woman I want to be married to. What the hell, Tim? Where did you get her? A breadwinner? A sweet, caring woman who's funny and understanding of his eccentric personality? How did this couple happen? I need to know. We stan Carol, everyone. Are we all on the same page? Good. Tim and Carol have two kids suspiciously the same age as Tim and Ted were in the first movie, one of which seems to be acting slightly weird around Tim. As it turns out, the school his oldest daughter, Tabitha, is going to is conspiring against the parents to remove them from the equation. Tina, his youngest daughter, reveals that not only does Baby Corp exist just like Tim remembered it, but that Baby Corp wants to rehire Ted back on for one last mission. To infiltrate the school and find evidence of what the evil mastermind behind this whole scheme is really planning. Tina gives them a new advanced baby formula, one that temporarily turns any adult into a younger form of themselves for 48 hours. After they suspiciously become the same age as they were in the first movie, the two of them discover that the man's plot is to release an app he had babies program in order to brainwash the adults of the world and have children run it. The two main boys are caught, and it's up to Tabitha and Tina to save the day. At least it was until the two boys broke out and helped them, but we don't need to talk about that. Using Mentos and Coke, not that kind, the two girls flood the server room for the brainwashing virus and defeat the villain. The villain then returns home to be with his family while the Templetons spend Christmas together. A happily ever after. That's the main plot of this movie. Unlike the first movie's villain, this guy has nothing to do with Baby Corp despite being an intellectual baby. And isn't that a bit odd? Watching this man's motivation started to feel different from watching the previous villain. Baby Corp had enough reason to stop the first villain, but this villain feels off. He wants to get rid of parents and have babies rule over the world. He wants babies to be the most important thing in the universe. Doesn't that sound like a certain corporation we're quite familiar with? I don't think Baby Corp ever intended to stop Dr. Armstrong. In fact, I think they wanted him to win. Isn't it suspicious how this plot seems to not threaten babies, but instead make them the natural leaders of the world? And isn't it suspicious how many unnaturally smart children seem to surround this man? Especially since we know for a fact that Baby Corp has their hands on a product that enhances the intelligence of children. I don't think any of this is a coincidence. So strap on those complimentary tinfoil hats I handed out last time, settle down with your popcorn with extra salt, and let's dive right in. I need to take a step back and analyze the villain as a whole, as he doesn't really seem hell-bent against Baby Corp. However, he seems to be relatively aware of Baby Corp, as he wasn't shocked at all that there may be other babies or children out there who are smart enough to try to stop his plans. When Ted and Tim get caught, he makes it explicitly clear that he was well aware of them from the beginning. Even if he doesn't specifically say Baby Corp, his lack of shock indicates that he's either dealt with this in the past or has been expecting it to some degree. Dr. Armstrong, which from this point I'll just be calling Armstrong, was raised by a couple of child psychiatrists that conducted experiments on him. When he realized he had thoughts, he ran away from home and began plotting to remove parents from the equation as a whole. Bedtime simply was too much for him to handle. Armstrong took in babies from around the world and used them in the same way someone would use infinite monkeys to write Shakespeare, but replacing them with babies writing code to make apps for profit instead. With enough money from these programming babies, which have more experience than I do somehow, he opened several schools called Acorn Academy to gather in smart children. Smart children he watches personally, like a creep. So we have a baby masquerading as a man who has been plotting this out for 17 months per his own claims, who knows on some level the possibility of there being rival babies out there. And he only stops the babies that directly get in his way. Both Armstrong and Baby Corp want babies to be more powerful. Remember, Baby Corp says they changed the goal from the most to love to the safety of babies as a whole.
This is the crisis center. This is where we monitor all threats to babies around the world and Hawaii.
Armstrong, a fellow baby, has nothing but babies as his priority. And it's not like he kills the parents, he simply removes all anatomy from them and makes them into mindless husks. There's a difference, which means that babies who cannot independently take care of themselves are at no risk for this transition, as he can simply order parents to continue giving childcare. Doesn't that mean that their goals sort of go hand in hand? No wonder Baby Corp put in so little effort. Baby Corp wins by losing to Armstrong. They get what they want. Parents are no longer a threat to catching them, so they don't have to hide in their company building anymore. With this device, you could argue that Baby Corp not only gets everything they wanted, they get a cherry on top as well. As long as you consider the cherry to be enslaved people, I suppose. Baby Corp does practically nothing against Armstrong from the start of the movie until the end of the movie. In the first movie, Baby Corp infiltrated the company by planting multiple of their employees within the workers' families, ensuring that they have multiple routes in. When Ted is late to sending a memo, they threaten to fire him on the spot. Meanwhile, for this world-ending crisis, they only send in one baby. A single baby they don't even bother to enroll in the school, instead asking for her to spy on her uncle who used to be an employee and send him in instead. I'll circle back to that later. Furthermore, for the people they do send on the mission, they aren't ordered to stop Armstrong. That's entirely Tina. From what she mentions about Baby Corp, they were just supposed to collect evidence for his plans before sending out the professionals. Who the hell are the professionals, huh? Professional negotiators? For all we know, they could have been trying to collect evidence to see if they could work with him, and if not, replicate what he was trying to do. When the group does call in to report their findings, they are left on hold for 20 minutes. 20 minutes! If the company considered Armstrong to be an actual threat, they would have had someone on the case immediately. They wouldn't send Tina all on her own. In the movie, all it takes is for her to stage a phone call with the company to abandon their orders and defeat the villain on their own. If Baby Corp wanted to defeat the villain, they could have had other boss babies on standby to jump in at a moment's notice. They also never explicitly stated that they even wanted to defeat Armstrong. It is my full belief that they never intended to go out of their way to stop him unless he was a direct hindrance to the baby's safety. That's why they planned on getting recording and listening devices within his office. They wanted more information to either steal his plans or form an alliance. Armstrong has shown that he is open to forming connections with other babies who further his goals, which means that collaboration between Armstrong and Baby Corp is a very good possibility. Babies don't need love anymore, instead having transitioned from being important to straight up dominating the world. Why else would they have a globe like that? Before it was just a pie chart. Now they've upgraded to bigger plans, yet suspiciously only sent one agent onto this case. There's literally no loss from stepping back and letting his plans win. They don't even bother to arrest him or do anything at the end of the movie to prevent him from trying again. Surely Tina would have just called back with the details of what just transpired and sent babies out to pick him up and send him to some sort of baby jail, or something like that. I'm not sure what Baby Corp does to the people they defeat. For all we know, they could just kill them or erase their memories entirely. The first movie's villain was defeated by his own hand and turned back into a baby, so I'm not sure based off of what we have so far. Which actually, now that I think about it, he was turned back into a baby. His memories were erased, sent back to relive his life all over again. It was done with the baby formula he made. In this movie, Baby Corp not only took that idea, but expanded upon it. Hey, wait a minute! I was originally going to ask why Baby Corp thought to develop this formula, but I think we all know where it came from. The villain from the first movie had been the original accidental test subject, who managed to get himself sent back to being an infant. No doubt the company had heard of this, but we don't see what happened to the rest of the formula he left behind. It would be safe to assume that the company either A, dumped out the substance, or B, took it. What for? The only thing Baby Corp has to constantly deal with is babies growing up. It's why they have the formula, so they don't have to worry about workers aging out. However, with this new formula, they don't even have to worry about that. If people grow up, they could just still work for Baby Corp. Even if you grow up, they can basically drug you and drag you back to the company kicking and screaming. Imagine retiring and then suddenly finding yourself reset and tossed back into the workforce. I would set the building on fire, I'm sorry. If I got a second chance at youth, you think I'd be wasting my time on this shit again? No wonder Tim immediately focused on his personal issues when he became younger. This man has priorities. Do you know how many people would pay to be able to reach up to the upper cabinet and not have your back imitate Pop Rocks? Yet, instead of doing anything more useful, they develop it in order to force previous employees back to work. Because that's all that matters to Baby Corp, themselves. They have proven that they don't care who developed products, like the youth returning baby formula that serves their interests. They will use it regardless. The only reason Baby Corp didn't team up with the previous villain was because he was actively trying to sabotage them. Armstrong, however, has no conflicts with them. It's quite obvious that they would absolutely use the apps he developed whether he gives permission or not. After all, Armstrong may have gone home, but the app he made wasn't destroyed, just the launch of it. I doubt that's the only copy he has, because every programmer knows to keep backups elsewhere for reasons just like this. We learn from experience. Especially since he was shown to be working with people worldwide, which means that they also have copies of it and could just release it independently. All it would take is one approach from Baby Corp, who could easily recruit these people, and Armstrong's plan would still go off. If Baby Corp is willing to take other villains' products and repurpose them for their own desires, it wouldn't be off the table in the slightest. Much less forming an alliance with a like-minded baby. That would be far more easier for them than having to send out a big team to defeat him and then put in the effort to restructure what he already made. It would save so much manpower and time to simply send in a person to ensure he wasn't a threat to them through listening devices and then propose an alliance. There's just one question that remains with this theory. Why would they send Tina to recruit her uncle back to the company with a purpose to stop Armstrong? I have a few thoughts regarding this. I'm sticking to the cult theory. Baby Corp is a cult and you cannot persuade me otherwise. A tiger can change its stripes all it wants, but it still can absolutely fuck your shit up. Just because Baby Corp restructured a little doesn't mean that they suddenly became a nice company. So, if Baby Corp is still functioning under this mindset, it would make sense for them to have a golden statue of Ted. He was the big boss to defeat the big world-ending villain. In a way, he sort of became their messiah, an idea for workers to worship as the ultimate form of manager. Who wouldn't want to be like the man that saved the world, right? I think they had two goals with bringing back Ted for this mission. Remember that he was only specifically assigned to gather evidence and fully intended to leave after he completed his mission. It was Tina's idea to get her dad and uncle as friends again that led to them stopping Armstrong. Ted was never brought onto this mission to stop Armstrong. Their first goal was likely to test the baby formula. They specifically say it's untested, and Tina even mentions how she's surprised it works. The baby formula that turned back the first villain into a baby was likely a changed form of the baby formula that the villain had invented himself. Remember, he only had a limited amount of baby formula. The villain was in no way able to be questioned for the changes he made to the formula, and they only had the limited supply he created to test with. So Baby Corp is likely experimenting with their own recreation of it. The second reason is the fact that they worship Ted. If the villain was going to turn every adult into a mindless husk, that means that Ted is at risk. If your messiah is in danger of becoming a less than stellar example to promote to your workers, wouldn't you want to bring him back to the safety from that risk? It's no wonder they chose Ted and no one else from his original group, despite all of them clearly being within close proximity to one another. Who better to test his formula on than their golden boy? For fuck's sake, they literally butter him up by showing him the statue of himself at Baby Corp before giving him the offer, reminding Ted of his built-in instincts before they offer him the job. He even remarks that he's back home when he goes to Baby Corp. If a company had the opportunity to dig their claws into their most prized worker and bring him back, they will. Especially if they can recruit him on a mission that Tim's daughters could have easily done on their own. Consider the fact that one of them is already enrolled and is a star trusted student at this school. Remember that Tim wasn't even intended to be brought back for this mission either. Tina said it was just a job for Ted, not Tim. They didn't intend for anyone not molded from Baby Corp to be on this job. And Tim very quickly proves their distrust by latching right onto his own personal interests instead, like a good parent should. Also, quick note, Ted is very rich and successful in his life. Ted has still continuously proven himself useful for the company to have as a resource. No wonder they wanted him. He's the prime example of a worker who sacrifices everything for the company. I think they intended to practice this new line of the formula on him, and once they managed to perfectly recreate the formula the villain used, they intended to approach Ted with a full-time job offer. This plan easily fell out of control because Tina acted solo and threw a wrench into Baby Corp's plans by telling them they had to defeat the villain themselves. Baby Corp now has to take a longer time accessing all of Armstrong's information and rebuild their plans because of Tina. And that is my theory. Baby Corp fully intended to lose against Armstrong by letting his plans come to fruition and using his knowledge as a jumping stone in order to finally take over the world and rule over parents. And in the meantime, they wanted to make sure they still had access to any previous workers they particularly liked. I'm not sure if it was written with those coincidences in mind, but that's a hell of a lot of coincidences for two movies to have back to back. It really is suspicious how well these things just come together. Thanks to everyone who watched this far. I really hadn't expected the first conspiracy theory video essay to do as well as it did, but you guys blew my expectations out of the water. I do plan on watching this series next. You guys have been extremely vocal about how you guys would like me to write a video about it, so I plan to do that. It will take me a while to watch though, so I think there might be some other content in between now and then. Now, a word from our sponsor, me. I make stuff. I make a bunch of it. Right now, I'm working on a few fanfics, particularly the two I have in my works right now are Undertale with FNAF and Undertale with Hazbin Hotel. I also draw a lot. I'm forcing myself to learn more animation, so you will also see that popping up in your feed if you're subscribed. Which, if you aren't, pretty please? I won't beg, you can't make me. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you still have your complimentary tinfoil hats, here's the drop-off zone. You can pick them up on the next Boss Baby video essay. And in the meantime, I'll work on just updating my fictional crushes board real quick, so don't mind me. Bye-bye!